This week's The Rahman Experience is brought to you by Al Salam Gift Shop, the gift shop that has the best selection of oils, body sprays, shea butter, and other unique items. You can find them online at masjidsalam.com, MASJIDSALAAM.com. PMP Nutrition and Supplements. It's the spot to get your body in tip-top shape for the summer and for life. PMPnutrition.com. The Jacksonville Free Press, providing quality urban news for more than 30 years. And Edward Waters College, Florida's oldest private college. Edward Waters College, preserving history, promising futures. Welcome to one of the hottest podcasts in America. It's the Rahman Experience. The Rahman Experience. It's a brand new experience, a brand new time, a brand new way to do it. Hey, yeah, it's all mine. I'm the one telling stories you thought couldn't be told. I'm the one that bring you in when you shaking from the cold. I'm the one always out front, yeah, trying something new. I'm the one that's gonna deliver when they ask what it do. Politics, entertainment, and science, all the news. Keeping you on the level with the stuff you can use. DJ Kids on the beat, Ross got the track. It's the Rahman Experience. You know that's where it's at. Welcome to this edition of the Rahman Experience. Great show today. I hope everything's well and that things in your life are moving forward. We talked to Mr. Meditator himself. We meditate Ahmad Blair-Brown. Love talking to people who like to talk about meditation and positivity and things like that. So looking forward to an epic conversation with Ahmad. As well, we'll talk about some of the things in the news and what's happening around the world. And as always, we want to know what you're thinking. Now, you can join me via social media on Twitter and Instagram at RahmanJ, at RahmanJ. Or you can catch me on Facebook, facebook.com/RahmanJFans. We usually update quite often, so you'll know what's going on in the news around the world. Maybe where you are, but whatever the conversation is, I'd love to discuss it with you, and you can do that right here on this platform or any of those other places. Or you can leave me a message that just might appear on the show. We've played them a few times. 540-RAHMAN-7. That number again, 540-RAHMAN-7. Yeah. So get in touch with me. Let me know what's on your mind, and I cannot wait until we do this thing live. Look, the messages are still coming in. I can't wait until we do this thing live and we have an even greater opportunity to talk with you, converse with you, and keep the conversation going, because that is the only way that things change. That's right. All right, Ahmad Blair-Brown. I can't say it today, but I'm looking forward to this conversation. He's coming up in just moments. But first, the news. This week, U.S. President Donald Trump made his way over to Brussels for his second NATO summit. NATO is the 29-member organization of North American and European countries that focus on shared security. Now, Trump blasted the leadership of the organization, insisting that they needed to spend more dollars on defense. He even insisted and said that Russia pretty much owned Germany. He said that's because of the energy consumption that Germany uses from Russia. Now, after the summit, the president is headed to the UK to meet with the British Prime Minister and the Queen, and after that, he heads for a meeting with Russian leader Vladimir Putin in Helsinki, Finland. Congress isn't really happy with what the president's doing and saying, and the trade war that the president seems to be ramping up. Well, Congress says, they're not taking it. Now, the Senate took a symbolic vote in an effort to rebuke the president's trade practices, but the vote is simply symbolic, and by all accounts, it seems that the president's trade war with other people and countries around the world, well, it's just getting stronger. And in Florida, in an interesting move, Florida Governor Rick Scott appointed a Republican to replace a Democrat in the Jacksonville City Council in Jacksonville. Now, many Democrats are vowing to fight against the governor putting a Republican in the seat, and the Republican doesn't even live in the community that he represents. Some say that this is the death knell for Rick Scott's campaign, who's currently running against incumbent Senator Bill Nelson for a Senate seat representing Florida in Congress. More of the experience in just a few minutes with Ahmad Blair-Brown as the Rahman Experience continues.
I'm a retired school psychologist, and helping people was my thing. After my stroke, when Meals on Wheels started, I was on the other end of the stick, so to speak. My name is Julius Gaines, creative writer, poet, photographer.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
It is the Rahman Experience. Welcome to the show. This week is an amazing show because I've been trying to get this brother on the show for a while. And the interesting part is when you are on social media, you see people and you wonder, are they as themselves as they seem to be on social media? When you try to, figure out who they are, what they're about. And the beauty of social media is that we can all come together and put the things out there that we are. And Oprah said something recently that I thought was really key, and I find that in this brother. She said, and I quote, social media is not a bad thing. It's people that make it bad. And whoever you are, just like with money, it amplifies that. So if you're a good person, the good will be amplified and moved forward. And if you're a troll, well, your trolling will also be amplified. Allow me to introduce you to my friend and social media star, Mr. We Meditate himself, Ahmad Blair-Brown. What's going on, man?
How you doing, brother?
Amazing. Doing, Welcome to the show. Thank you for being part of the Rahman Experience. And
happy to be here, man.
I have to say, you've come up with this phrase. You're on YouTube, Instagram, all of the socials, and the phrase that you've coined. And guys, if you don't follow him, you should. All around the world, we meditate. It's quite simple.
Yep, we meditate, one word. Smash it all together, and you'll find me.
I'm out there. and the first thing you'll hear when you say is well rising. Before we go into I have a bunch of questions for you when it comes to, because your brand is about meditation and living your best life, kind of like me, and finding your zen and being available to the moment. You say well rising. Define that for me. What does that mean when you greet people with most of your videos and most of your posts with well rising?
All right. Well, well rising is an culmination of many things coming from a lot of things that I've learned just about language. Let me give you a backdrop first. Sure. Let's backtrack a half step.
Sure.
I went to seminary.
I was a preacher.
In a sense. In a sense,
okay,
yes.
Okay. What seminary did you attend?
I went to Morehouse School of Religion.
Yes.
Baptist, the Baptist tradition. Okay. What is that? Pastoral care and counseling as my specialty. Okay. And so I initially did go to seminary with an ambition, for preaching in a very traditional Christian sense. However, I did have my other foot basically just steeped in learning, like learning for the sake of learning, like no ambition, no, I want to do this, I want to do that. I want to learn and grow closer to whatever the authentic spirit of all things is. Because, just growing up Christian, you're told a very particular story of whatever that may be. But some of us do grow in time to realize that might not fit them all the way for one reason or another. Let's not judge and let's not assess. But for me, just my life path led me to want to know and understand the more that did exist out there. Because there's definitely more. And so, just going to seminary, I was exploring everything that I could soak up. It didn't even matter what, if it was pro-Christianity, anti-Christianity, pro-Jesus, whatever. Like, it didn't matter. I just wanted to know.
You were a seeker.
Yeah, I was simply just being a seeker outright. Yeah. And so, in the process of just learning and growing, I stumbled upon etymology. The meaning and the power of words, how everything has a vibration, how everything has power to it, how essentially what you think and say can and will manifest if you know how to use that power accordingly. And so when it comes to the well rising, that actually kind of birthed out of learning about just in the American language that we curse ourselves and happily do so many times. Basically, we wake up and we say to the first people we see, good morning. And so the simple good morning is always just kind of casually taken as a greeting, but the base vibration of the word is morning. The base vibration of the word is death. The base vibration of the word is the low of
morning, but morning. Plus, can we get deeper?
Go for it. What you got?
If I wish you good morning, what about the rest of the day? What about the afternoon? What about the evening? What about that? You know what I mean? So I see where you're going.
There's many ways you can kind of chop it up. Now, of course, you could be all super deep and things like that and thinking about it too much. However, for me, well rising was birthed out of me releasing morning, in a sense. And it wasn't even this intentional, this is what I'm doing. Like, life literally led me to it. Essentially, the well rising, exactly, it was birthed out of a very, very, very trauma-filled event, In my personal life, I felt like I was virtually just stripped of everything that I had, placed in a extremely vulnerable position. And when I was in that position, the first thing that I could think to do was go back to my medium of inspiration. The only thing that really kept me going in that season was me inspiring others. Me making videos, me doing speeches, me doing counseling sessions with folks. Yeah. And when I made this huge shift in my life, in that exact moment, that is literally the only thing that could come out of my mouth. When I turned on my tape and just started to blurt out whatever came out to save my soul. And Well Rising became just an affirmation. Like, to keep it very simple, I wanted to start my day well rising. You have this good intention.
Simple, but effective.
Simple and very effective. And so,
so who is Ahmad?
Oh man, Ahmad, the human aspect of me. I'm 34. I'll be 35 in December of 2018. I'm a country boy at heart. I grew up on a dirt road that wasn't even paved until I was in middle school. Eventually made my way up in the world as a youngster. Did great things in high school. I did acting. I did debate. I played basketball. I was the valedictorian of my high school, actually, for my class. Went off to college. Partied a lot in college. Just did the regular college thing. I didn't explore myself at all. Just as a side note, I probably never even had any intention of exploring myself probably until late 20s, but I think that's the vast majority of us. We're in the West. That's kind of how they
we're put us on rails. Figure it out, right? We're not
trying to figure
going on a vision quest.
Exactly, right. And so, I just remember I was about 27, 28, and essentially just dealing with a woman. She kind of just ripped my heart out, just to keep it simple. And when that happened, that's when I started to look at everything different. Because prior up to that point, I was just following along them same cookie cutter lines everybody else was doing. Go to school, meet a woman, go get a family, go to work the rest of your life,
and die. And you have you lived
right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like it pretty much was gonna be that.
Wow.
And up until it broke down, I was okay with it. For the most part.
But then you unplugged from the Matrix.
Well, I would say, so I mean, I unplugged. Or it unplugged me. However, it worked.
Right.
I'm because it was the season of my Saturn return. So I don't know if, for the listeners, I don't know what level people are on understanding consciousness or entertaining it.
Explain it.
But astrology, it explains that there are going to be certain crossroads that every single human has to face. There'll be at least 4 or 5 major crossroads that are inevitable no matter what you do. You can't run away from it. It's just a part of being alive. And so one of these processes is called the Saturn return. And generally speaking, it happens in the late 20s to early 30s range. It's basically a quarter life crisis. Everybody just talks about half-life crisis. Midlife crisis.
Yeah.
But there actually is a quarter life crisis that just doesn't really get talked about.
Okay.
And so, I was on, like I said, on rails, trying to be this little preacher dude, all of that. Met a lovely woman, and me thinking I'm on top of the world.
This is it.
Yeah, this is it. God is good. All of that, right?
Yeah.
And then she took a left turn on me. And then that just made me totally re-examine everything that I was doing. Because basically when that happened, just to keep it simple, it made me realize that I was never living like my own life. I was living out the life that was projected to me to live.
By, honestly, people who you didn't even know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we got to go back. You said you went to college, undergrad, obviously grad school, Morehouse School of Theology.
Mm-hmm.
Undergrad, where'd you go? We got to talk about it.
All right. I'm an HBCU guy, man.
Okay.
I went to Florida A&M.
FAMU, the Rattlers, we strike and strike and strike again.
Hey, all day, baby.
For those in Florida, they'll know what I'm talking about. And where'd you go to high school? What's the name? Would we know your high school? Is it a big high school?
No, it's a regular. Okay. I was actually one of the...
Because you're Central Florida.
Yeah, I'm in Central Florida.
So no Jones or Evans. Because that's the Jones and Evans.
No, I grew up around the white folks as a youngin'. So
I
went to a white high school, which was even more of a feat back then.
Especially if you're the Val.
Yeah, I was this black kid valedictorian at like a vast majority white school.
Yeah.
So that's just where I came from, man.
I got you.
And me doing all of that back then was just me enjoying life. Like,
here's something, I want to take it.
That's all. That's really just how I saw things as a youngster.
Yeah.
All
right, we got to devolve for a moment. FAMU, where'd you stay? That's the $1 million question, because all of us who, even though you guys who aren't from Florida or who didn't go to an HBCU, there is a complete. I graduated from Edward Waters College, where I am now a professor. But there is a complete different culture when it comes to HBCU life. And a lot of us know stuff about campuses. One of my great friends, and he went to Morgan. We talk about, the dorms. And so we share stories. And there's always a dorm story. And having spent some time, having gone to FAMU, I did not graduate from FAMU, but I did attend FAMU for a moment. There's a whole story behind that. I'm always curious as to where people stay, and I'll tell you about me, but where'd you stay at FAMU?
I stayed in Gibbs Hall, actually. I got lucky. I lucked out.
Lucky is not the word. That was all that spirituality that you had coming up. The Lord blessed you so that you could stay in Gibbs.
I was in the nicest male dorm.
Yeah. Truth was even cool. Gibbs, Truth, all those places. Yeah.
Yep, no.
LLC, the Living Learning
I was actually in that dorm, and I was in room 444.
Really?
Yeah. And it was a corner room that was supposed to have 3 people in it. But we kicked them out and only made it 2, so we had a deluxe suite.
Like a suite, yeah.
We had a deluxe suite in that joint. Yeah, we made that. We parlayed that whole thing back in the day. We had these spots, like everybody came to our room, to either play video games or to hang out and chill. Like,
but that's what they do on Wanish Way.
Hey,
I mean, okay. So my bad story. I stayed in Pattyfoot.
Yeah, the Foot.
I was in the Foot. I was a foot soldier, as they say, foot soldier. I was in Pattyfoot B. So that ramp as you're walking up,
yep.
And quick story, as I'm walking, the ramp is there, and me and my roommate we became very close that semester. Being at Pattyfoot is very close,
right? You ain't got no choice.
No, and so we got there. I was a freshman, and I was staying in Pattyfoot, and there was no curtains. But my room was on the ramp when you walk up, so you could see into the room from the ramp.
Just walk directly into
it. So I called the RA, and I was like, not called, but went by. The RA was like, excuse me, there are no curtains here. And so he looking at right. You already know. You already know. Like I'm not gonna repeat in public company what he said, but he was like, let your hang. and I was like, sir, horrified. So we improvised. We got some newspaper and taped it up in the window, and we called parents and was like, okay, and figured it out.
This is a ghetto situation.
This is the hood, but we have so many of those stories. And I'm sure you do, from Be Out Day and all of that stuff. Are you Greek? Did you do the Greek letter?
No, I didn't do the Greek letter thing, but I did become a Mason. In that same time frame.
So you were a Mason while you were in undergrad?
Yeah, while I was in undergrad, I pledged. Is it pledge? The form of the internal term, I was raised as
you
a
were
Mason.
raised as a Mason.
All of that. I would be getting caught up on all that goofy stuff.
Yeah.
Because after a while, that you'll see none of that matters. But anyway, that's the route that I went. Yeah, that's the route that I went. Okay. I was going to do the whole Omega Sci-Fi thing. My father was one.
Your dad's an Omega. Okay.
Yeah, my dad's an Omega, and I was going to follow along his lines.
Does he preach as well?
Oh no, he's more like he's in a whole bunch of stuff. So one day he Muslim, one day he Christian. I like my dad. My dad's free.
But I mean, clearly he opened the door so you could be free.
Right, exactly. So he named me Ahmad. Like I say, he used to like the whole Nation of Islam back in the day.
Okay.
He's a strong black man. So in that era, Christian men were more docile characters, for whatever's worth.
Okay.
But yeah, just drawing on that strong male image, he followed behind Malcolm X a lot. Just took a lot of influence from him. Not necessarily, full on religious views, but just everything that came along with that image. He entertained a lot of it.
Speaking of influences, who have been some of the major, obviously your parents and your family, but when you look at enlightenment, you're an African American man from a small community of not a heck of a lot of African American people.
Mm-hmm.
Who have been some of the influences that helped you to be okay with finding the enlightenment in the way that you have?
Man, I don't even know where it came from, to be honest. Like, to be straight up about it. I would say, if anything, like a desire to become more enlightened over religious, probably initiated it in undergrad at FAMU. Just having conversations with people. Because, I said prior to going to FAMU, I said I was in a small town. I ain't know nothing, But I always had a greater sense of myself. Like, I had traveled the world before, as a little kid. So I've left the country a bunch of times. So I've seen, like different modes of living, in real time. And so when you travel the world and you see people living completely different than you, like it opens just your mind to way more possibilities, because it's like you can't tell me there's only one way to live when I'm looking at something that's completely inexplicable from what I've been taught, and these people function. So something else is happening. Yeah. So just kind of always having that as a backdrop since I was like 14.
Wow.
Yeah, just kind of having that in the back of my mind. I eventually, like I said, went to FAMU and just started meeting other black folks that I didn't even know existed. Because I'm from a country town, so all I knew was, can I say it? Like on the
niggas,
like niggas, po black niggas, po country niggas, and then people who went to work. Like that was pretty much it.
Right.
Only type of black elite or black anything other would be, like I say, going to my dad, because my parents, I was born out of wedlock. They had me in college. So I would go, on my dad's side of the family, who's Caribbean, Jamaican. Okay. So, I would see that whole angle of things, which was way
completely different.
Yeah, just completely different. Yeah. And so just having the two households, that was a part of it too. Because growing up with my mother, she was just basic religious. Nothing too serious until I got to about middle school, high school. She totally just turned devout. So I just had to go along to church with her the whole time.
Was there a denomination? Was it like Kojic or Baptist? Baptist.
She's Baptist, and it wasn't just the devout turning, actually. My whole family took it up to a whole nother level. My core unit, my mom basically just started to follow behind my uncle, who became the pastor of the church that we all as a family grew up in.
Yes.
So once he became pastor of that church, we basically took the church over.
And became the society, so to speak.
We became the ministerial family for the community at our church. So that's the type of, situation that I was in. And so, just kind of always being around it, being tailored in it for so long. Once I eventually got to FAMU and started having conversations with people, like I say, I had my first full-on sit-down conversation with some Muslim dude who's also 17 from Chicago. You know what I'm saying?
And obviously being from Chicago, his experiences are going to be completely different than yours.
Completely different. Yes. But him still having that same testimony. Allah saved me in the last moment. When people be like, Jesus saved me in the last moment. I'm like, well, who's to say Allah didn't save you, bro? So
and who's to say Jesus didn't save you?
Right. So just kind of having literally just basic kind of conversations and like that with people.
And can I challenge you? Who's to say that that's not the same entity?
Well, I'm under the impression
you just call it a different thing. Come on now. Come on.
That's where I'm at with all of this. It's the same thing, but we just don't. A lot of us don't know that yet. But
are we seeing a shift in enlightenment? Like people are more willing to be public about their understanding of spirituality in the context of religion?
I believe so. Under the from what I'm seeing, from where we used to be in my high school days to where I'm at as an adult, and just having the same kind of exposure to people, people from all other ranges. People are way more into at least entertaining other concepts. A lot of people they may still claim to be a Christian or claim to be, Islamic or whatever, but they take that barrier down that you're wrong. I've seen at least that, start to develop in a general sense in a lot of people. Just interacting with people and just learning that the spirit that we call God is way more profound than any type of box we could put it in. Something sparked in me, like literally. And I just became, like you said, a seeker. Like the actual term for it is a seeker. I transformed into a seeker. Yeah. And I didn't care what religion or what God or whomever it was.
Or what you call the entity.
Right. I want to know. And that's what sparked me to become a Mason.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, just kind of instinctually, honestly. Okay. Be very honest, very instinctually. Just seeing them kind of be around. They had that kind of similar to a fraternal presence, but it was way more like off to the side, just kind of.
We're watching.
Yeah, it was more like a big brother kind of thing almost. Yeah. And so prior to, really going that route, I was doing the whole Q thing. I was like, an interested gentleman online type of thing, all of that, And in a part of the necessary research they make us do, I discovered that all of the founding fathers of the Qs were Masons. All of the founding fathers of the Kappas were Masons. All of the founding fathers of the Sigmas were Masons. All of the founding fathers of the AKAs were Eastern Stars and the Deltas. And like literally the whole Divine Nine, every last one of them, and the white side of fraternities were all started by Masons and Eastern Stars. It made more sense to me because, I mean, let's just be straight up. Like if I'm gonna go sign up to get my ass kicked, I want to get the absolute most out of it. And so if there's an organization whooping my ass that was birthed out of a bigger organization that was whooping their ass, why am I going to let you whoop my ass when I can let the people who whooped yours whoop mine? And so
interesting. Okay.
That's just how I do. It made more sense to me. And it also, like the hip hop phrase that's out right now. There's levels to this shit.
Okay.
Like before that became a phrase, that's what I picked up on back then. Like there's levels to this, and it's not the insult, apples, cues, or anybody. Like none of that at all.
It's your experience.
Yeah, like that's what drew me, And so once I jumped into that, my spirituality still didn't change once I got into it, because kind of going through the formalities of getting into it. You learn stuff, but it actually is that whole secret code shit, It is like a little secret thing that they got going on. But it's again just words that are used to protect the secrets, because like basically once you start tapping into understanding words, like I opened up with the etymology thing, and like understanding words, sacred geometry, like your chakras, your mudras, your meridians, your whole basically all of the internal points where your energy flows inside of your body. Once you start to entertain certain words that vibrate certain tones, you literally start to activate parts of your subconscious, parts of your conscious, parts of your internal organs. Which then
releases things to come to you.
Which
allows
releases
you
things
to get
come
into
to you. Right. And so once
you
you start entertaining these basically just sacred words, sacred geometry, if you are not in a position to, egotistically let yourself go, if you are not in a position to deal with the emotional shifts that take place, if you are not in a position to honor the new ideas that come out of nowhere, like you'll do more damage to yourself than you would just being a quote unquote regular person.
Gotcha.
And so that's why I learned where all of this secret stuff comes from. It's not because of a
secret.
Big Brother taking over the world,
Illuminati,
that has that angle, but that's just how people go about it. That's not the organization itself. But once you start to learn that the vibrations of the entities that we know are of God are literally correspondences inside your actual body, and you could turn that stuff on, that became where it was at. And once I understood like just the very, very basic aspect of that, I didn't know anything deep, didn't know anything special. All I knew was that there's definitely more, and that I'm God. That's pretty much all I came out with.
Because we are, being that we're part of the
we are the same divine spark, just like
that the entity put into us.
The exact same thing. We're nothing separate or different from it.
Being that you're an MDiv and that you've learned so much of doctrine and dogma of organized religion, specifically Christianity. How do you then reconcile that with what you learn as an enlightened individual, understanding meditation, understanding using universal thought to evolve? How do you reconcile the two? Or is there a reconciliation? Is there no, I don't believe that anymore. Yeah, I'm an MDiv. How's that reconciliation work?
Reconciliation is still a process for me. It's not I feel like I'm still building a bridge between that gap for my own right, because if you, like I say, it's a rabbit hole that you could jump down with the origins and the history and the just whatever. Like once you start to basically turn that stone, you realize that there's 50 other stones under it, and so if you just continue flipping stones, you're never gonna really get an answer to anything. You'll literally get more and more confused, to be very honest, because when we're talking about entities of gods and stuff, we're not talking about something that can be made substantial like this microphone that we're talking on. We're talking about an essence that permeates everything. And so when you try to...
That can be whatever. It can be a microphone, but it can also be the computer. It can be the chair.
Well, not can be, it is.
It is.
You see? And so trying to figure out a way to allow both sides of that coin to exist in a harmonic kind of space. Yeah. I'm working to build that still within myself because I grew up as a person who strictly just worshipped, believed that God was outside of myself, that it was strictly through this, Eurocentric entity. That whole thing.
This usually white man hanging on the wall is the only way that you can quote unquote find salvation.
Exactly. Yeah. And but then to have, because here's the trick, to have all of your feelings and your memories substantiated in that way of living because you have seen things happen, that becomes the trick for someone who's on a journey to enlightenment, who's like, none of that's real. Like, how do you say, let's just say, Jesus is fake, like the enlightened person may say, depending on, what angle they have. They may say, well, Jesus isn't real and I could prove it. Like, here's 15 absolute things that show this man was not real at all. But then the person who went to church can turn right back around and say, well, I'll up the ante and I'll show you 16 different situations where God came through.
And exactly.
You see?
Yes.
And so it always basically just devolves into that.
Come on, we know Jesus was real, but you have the interpretation of who
and what
what
that means for the rest of humanity.
Exactly. Was Jesus a divinity? Or was he a guy that ended up, for lack of a better term, in a Forrest Gump-esque situation with a lot of stuff, and people are like, oh, that's interesting, and they wrote about it. Like,
right.
And so people try to reconcile the two. Who was the person? And my thought is, it's so funny, I posted something one time, I said, I love God fiercely, and she loves me right back.
Oh, you messed them up.
Oh, my word. And because God is, there's this group, La Nubian, that I love.
The French
the French chicks, And in before their song Makita, they said, God is a spirit. God is male. God is also female. God is nothing. God is everything. And when you know and can embrace the entity, then that opens the door to the possibility of Jesus. So whether you believe or not, it's the belief that gives the power to making things happen.
Right. Well, like I say, if you try to your best, because that's the tricky part about this whole God thing. You have to try your absolute best to not put any chains or put any boxes on it. And the moment that you justifiably say that's where God came through, you've actually put a box on it. Yeah. Even though it's a good box. Like, let's just say,
a box.
you were supposed to be in that car accident and that something spirit told you to swerve the car to the left and then you avoided the accident. Yes, that was the spirit of God. Yes, that was the all of the universe. But you also put it in a box in that moment. And you made it so. And here's the trick now. Many of us don't realize that the reason why we mistakenly or improperly put God in a box is because we are that God who's putting ourselves in the box.
So that we can define ourselves better.
Exactly.
Come through.
Exactly. Like I say, we are the actual identity of God. Like, God is the backdrop.
Yeah.
We are what sprang out. So, when this whole religious thing, can become problematic, we put so much focus on the one singular person who's supposed to be the archetype of everything the religion stands for.
Which is the loaded word, by the way, God.
Well, yeah.
Because when you have the perception...
we're just using the basic term here.
But you have the perception of an old white man on a throne,
that's
hurling lightning bolts at people that piss him off.
To be honest with you, that's the proper term, because etymology, like I say, studying words, the actual history, like you can't deny this. If you look it up, this is what it is.
Okay.
The origins of the word God is an extension of the word Gud, G-U-U-D, which is German for deity. So God, in a sense, is a white man throwing lightning bolts
at people that piss him off.
Yes,
thrown
because
in the sky.
that is the image from the linguistic source of the German people.
Wow.
Like, so just to be straight up, God is a white man.
Yeah.
And so now when you talk about, like I say, because these energies, when we're talking about the source of all things, it has no biases. It just responds to the input.
It just is.
It just responds to the input.
Yeah.
So if you've got the vast majority of people got their emotions and their minds locked into a wavelength of a particular word that has been attributed to a particular character, we, as the actual embodiment of the essence of God, give that
energy
and life.
Yeah.
And so, there is now a white man in the sky throwing lightning bolts, punishing people. Yeah. And we could tell based on how people receive it. They receive it as such. They the ones singing and asking and begging or begging for blessings.
From the great and terrible.
From the great and terrible God.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are begging God to, like save mom, so to speak, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You see, they're the ones asking God to step through and pay their bills or come through and give me, I need these lights on. They're the ones praying to God to help save my child. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, again, none of that is bad. However, if you or anyone else does not grow to realize that what you're talking to is the essence of yourself, you simply miss out on the full completion of the meal. Let's just say quote unquote God is a 5-course meal. The 5th and final course is you coming to the realization that it's been you the whole time.
And that the
vast majority of us only get to the 4th step.
And maybe that the entity, because the entity is within, because and that's somewhat Buddhist-esque. As you go level to level and evolve and learn and enlighten more, you get to the point to understand that I have to go within to control what's outside.
And it's an inverse thing too, because to someone who may be just typically religious, me saying you're God and all of this type of stuff, you may think that's blasphemy and I'm insulting God. But when you really do grow into that enlightenment, you're learning to let more of your humanness go. And you let your humanness go on a very literal, direct sense.
Yeah.
You're not saying, oh, I'm God out of ego and I'm better and I'm more powerful than you. You're saying, I'm releasing the shackles of these human chains that limit the flow of God that is way more profound than me. And I'm merging myself with that flow on an intimate and direct basis. So I'm not going to allow any conscious or subconscious barriers continue to exist. And the only way, or the most proficient way to remove those barriers, is to change the way I speak. And if I change the way I speak and make it a direct correlation to what is, I then begin to build that block. So now that may be extremely complicated for a lot of people, because again, the whole God thing is, most of us have been given God through the box of religion, and we actually have a hermetic seal on our consciousness. That's some other deep stuff. That could be a whole nother conversation.
Got to come back to the show.
That's a whole nother conversation. But like I say, many of us have literally, basically, was a nice way of putting it. We've got our brain and our mind and our soul has basically got a big old sheet of saran wrap on it.
Okay.
You can see right through saran wrap, right?
And it's there.
Right. And it's there, but you can see. And as long as you can see, they've sold you on the fact that as long as you can see, that's good enough. You can see God right on the other side of that saran wrap. That's good enough.
And I'm going to tell you what you need to do. I'm never going to tell you that you actually have the power to take the saran wrap off.
Take the saran wrap
and not
off.
just see, but to experience.
To dive directly into
and
that experience.
Yep.
You don't have to wait to dive to take your saran wrap off. And so,
great way of putting it. It's by the way, when is the book coming out?
Oh man, the book has been a process. I'm not even gonna lie to you, man.
Because clearly this needs to be something that we can purchase. We're talking to Ahmad Blair-Brown. You can find him on Instagram and other social media. We Meditate, all one word. As he said, smash it together. Find him at We Meditate. But the book, it's got to be coming soon.
Yeah, the book deals directly with this from the Christian angle. To be very honest, really examining the image of God. Like just deity God, examining the image of Jesus, and then examining the symbol that he has become to embody, and then how that symbol can be a literal direct gateway for your mind for you to do this jumping in that we're kind of talking about.
Wow.
Without having, or with reducing, I'll say, the intellectual hang-ups that may have to take place based on how much religious experience you've had. Basically being told so much that God is outside, being told so much that, God needs to come save you, being told so much that the Spirit of God literally needs to come inside of you.
Which means you're incomplete.
Exactly. Yeah. So just basically dealing with all of that subconscious, rendering, that we have been given, and giving a very pleasant way to confront it and relieve yourself from it, and doing so by directly engaging Scripture.
So the book is coming.
Yeah.
It's a long story short. The book is coming.
Yeah.
And something else I want to get your opinion on. A lot of times I know, having gone to the Black church, and I speak all over the country at different places, and my thing is more about motivation, but I do in some ways touch on spirituality because it's something that has helped me to be a better me. Mm-hmm. But I remember, and I'm sure you, growing up in a small town, got the same thing growing up: fear God. Fear God, fear God, fear, fear. And as an adult, I kind of, it's the antithesis.
That whole thing with that fear God, I realized, like say the whole solar return thing that we spoke about earlier, it was in that process that I realized one of the main reasons why I never manifested anything in life was because I was given that model of fear. Right. And just that basic model of fear had essentially influenced every other area of my life, to where anytime I stepped into a new environment that was just new for me when it came to, trying to manifest, trying to do something business, trying to build something from the ground up. Yeah. That same fear that I was taught crept into my processes and basically crippled me from ever completing anything, because I energetically matched myself with that exact same wavelength that I'm supposed to be waiting on God. That if I move without God, I'm going to fail.
And you're going to hell.
And you're going to hell because you're living in sin, because you're living in your ego and not in the will of God. Yeah. Like being raised up in all of that. Yeah. And then, like I say, coming to college and then finding out that there's sons and daughters of millionaire business owners who went from nothing to something. Yeah. And their story was they did the total opposite of what I was told to do in church: be fearless.
Right, to be fearless, to just go out and do whatever they wanted to do, and they were able to make it.
Yeah, like literally go do what you want and go do whatever you need to do to just make it happen. Yeah. Like, and don't be caught up in the details. Yeah. And let life to essentially give you what you need in that moment, and you move forward with what life gave you. Like a completely different way of looking at the whole life experience. Wow. And I realized that the people who got the most out of life, and I don't mean just like money wise, I'm talking about money, experiences. Yeah. They had the most fun because they weren't filled with fear that something's going to happen to them every time they did something. Yeah. Those were the people that I saw living their best life. Yes. And the not just the outward fulfillment, I could see the inner, just that inner sense that they're just getting everything out of their experience. Okay. And so once I started to realize that I'm living in I'm like being a proverbial fearful slave almost to life, like to life itself. I'm afraid of life.
So once you release
because the God I was given, or the God I knew to entertain, told me to be afraid of every motherfucking thing. Like I have to go ask him for everything.
Can I go to the bathroom now?
Right. Should I do this now? Because that's the type of things that were given to me. Being taught like you're supposed to seek God's counsel in everything, and there's no limit to how much you can seek that counsel. And being told stuff like that, like here's the funny part about it. Medically speaking, it's no different from going to the gym, and what we're talking about with your actual brain matter. Okay. When you entertain these notions of, it's called passivity, that God will do it for me. When you start to entertain those notions of passivity, you never use some of the equipment that is actually inside of your brain. Like there's tools, there's
cognitive ability that the universe blessed us with. And don't you think it's kind of insulting when God, the entity, has blessed us with these cognitive tools, and then
somehow you justifiably don't use them because of the same entity? Like,
that's insulting.
Exactly.
Let me ask you this. This is as we wind down here, because this has been certainly an enlightening show, which means, first of all, you have to promise to come back.
Definitely.
You have to come back to the experience. So one of the reasons that we connected is that obviously a Florida guy, I'm a Florida guy as well. We're both from the same state, but you're a meditator.
Yes.
And my philosophy is that prayer is my conversation to God. And I think prayer is good. I mean, it's for us. I'm talking to within. Mm-hmm. Meditation is the place where I give space for God to speak to me. Mm-hmm. And I think quite often, you can't talk and listen at the same time. and meditation provides that space. You do an awesome meditation event at Lake Eola in Orlando.
Yes.
That series has ended for the summer, or do you have more coming up?
There's more coming, but the chakra series ended.
Series.
It was just a 7-week series dealing with the 7 primary chakras of the body, the seven major adrenal glands, the 7 major, basically the 7 major emotions that get sent through your bloodstream when life happens. So
and on the shores of Lake Eola.
Correct.
Yeah, how beautiful is that?
Yeah, man, it's awesome. Yeah,
so lead us through, if you don't mind. I know this is kind of putting you on the spot. Quick meditation. Obviously, the show is we don't have a lot of time, but
I'll lead you through one, and then
that's what I'm saying. Well, you're leading us. Yeah,
right,
this is us. Like, let's do a quick, meditation and breathing exercise, because I'm always one to, it's funny as a professor. One of the things I've done with my classes is, in some cases, they get in there, and especially, I don't call students, I call them my learning team, because we're a team, and I prefer to think of myself as a learning coach.
Got you.
And so, in when we're having our learning team meetings, sometimes they'll come in, they'll be hyped up about other stuff, and a lot of my things are we're talking about current events, things that are happening in the media, just a lot of stuff. And so it's like da 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 da, and I encourage them to bring every device they have, the laptop, the cell phone, the iPad, the tablet, everything, bring it all, right? Because I want you to use every bit of information that you have access to so that you can expand the mind.
Yeah.
However, that is somewhat information overload. So in order for us to start and get in a place that works, in some of my classes where it was just like, whoa, and you could feel the energy bouncing off the walls, I did a meditation. And it was so, a lot of them didn't know. They were like, why is the professor casting spells, in the classroom? But eventually it got to a point where they got it, and some of them embraced that meditation space. So, in teaching hip hop and things like that, you need to have that grounding space to do that. So, give us a meditation, some breathing, so that we can find the Zen. Just a couple minutes.
Okay. Well, here, before I do that, let me just pass on a couple basic tactics, for some of those who may want to take meditation home or pick it up. For one, meditation is actually something rather simple and something that we do all the time and we are not aware of it. When you just drift into a daydream for just them 15 seconds, you've actually successfully accomplished alpha waves, which are the deepest forms of meditation. It meant we drift off into that space all the time. So many of us have been meditating our whole life. However, we have not been formally, just educated upon it. So when someone says, oh, you need to go meditate, we usually think of the whole kind of Buddhist monk imagery, and it's either turn off or it's intimidating or something seen that's foreign to us. When again, we do this all the time. And so, with the whole thing with meditation, it's basically about your breathing more so than anything. Because a lot of people is like, I can't concentrate, or I can't see nothing, trying to do imagery, or I can't stop my mind from chattering. One of the main reasons why we can't stop it is because we won't allow ourselves to listen. Like you said, meditation is all it is listening. That's actually all it is. That's all it is. But like I say, you could get real deep and fancy with it based on your breathing techniques. You can open up certain parts of yourselves and listen to that part of yourself. It's very simple. And so basically with the whole thing with meditation and tapping into it, if you're a novice, if you're an expert, is to focus on your breathing. Like, that's it. Like, literally, just on a very basic level, sit, be still, and breathe, and attune your ears to listen to the wind going in and out of your mouth and or your nose. Like, and that's it. And as you intimately grow in that listening, begin to incorporate feeling, like the actual feeling of your body, and then learn or just start to entertain what it feels like to be in perfect harmony and perfect balance and perfect timing with what you're breathing and what you're feeling. So essentially, as you begin to slow down and remove yourself from just instinctual breathing, just you're breathing because you're breathing, to mindful, like mindfulness and mindful breathing, mindful breath, you will start to realize that this whole stuff we talk about energy and it's flowing in and out of your body once you begin to listen as you inhale and exhale, you will begin to feel and understand your natural energy flow. And as you begin to slowly and surely grow closer and closer in just listening and following, you'll be putting so much mental effort into just focusing on that you stop the mind chatter, that you stop the wayward thoughts, that you stop the whatever it is that you may think is a hang up for your meditation, because you've actually shifted fully into what meditation is, which is nothing more than conscious breathing. So now with that being said, let's do a quick little exercise.
Let's go.
All right. Last couple pointers of with meditation. You can get the most out of your meditation by doing a simple trick of one, finding a comfortable space, making sure that wherever you're doing it, your spine has the ability to be fully erect. So if you're going to sit, and you're going to sit without a chair, make sure you sit, that full-blown military style, super astute. If you're in a chair, do not slouch. And also you have the option of laying down. Many folks don't say lay down because that's just the easiest way of falling asleep. But if that's what you're comfortable with, make it work. But also remember that meditation is just about being comfortable. So you don't have to assume no complex position, none of that. Like find a spot where
Flying Lotus 3.
Right, yeah, do all of that. Downward Dog 7. You don't have to do all of that.
Yeah, gotcha.
Just get still, get comfortable, and get attentive. And so there's that. And then the one last thing is to close your circuitry, meaning that whenever you finally get comfortable, take your arms and your hands and do something with them. Either place them on your knee, firmly place them and keep them on your knee, or bring your index fingers to your thumbs and create the peace symbol. Doing either one of those completes the energy circuits and the energy flows that are inside of your body. It allows the electrical current to build up and circulate more when you're doing your breathing exercises. And the absolute last one is to actually hold your tongue to the roof of your mouth and keep it there for the entirety of a meditation, even when you're exhaling through your mouth. So to force the wind through your mouth, to even sometimes create a whistling sound if it comes to it, all of that, again, it helps complete the circuit, but it also helps with the basic conscious effort to keep you in that moment so that you don't run off and do mind chatter. All right, so now with that being said, we'll give our listeners a quick second to adjust, and I'll just jump right into it. Now, find yourself in a centered position wherever you may be. Allow yourself to comfortably be in the moment. Whatever you're thinking, whatever you're feeling, whatever energy you're resonating with, whether it be good, bad, high or low, just let it be. Just continue to sink into the moment, however the moment allows you to sink. Begin to embrace the freedom and the peace that comes along with not judging a single thought, not judging a single feeling, not judging any of the perceptions that you have of yourself right now. Whatever your state of being is right now, let it be. Continue to rest in the stillness of your own spirit. Continue to breathe and begin to listen to the flow of your own spirit. As you continue to breathe, begin to inhale fully, slowly, and deeply. Breathe to where the air penetrates all the way down into the bottom of your torso, expanding your stomach and expanding your chest. And once you're completely full of air, completely full of energy, slowly release it through your mouth. Begin to find your own pace and your own rhythm where you breathe in the maximum amount of air and energy and slowly release it from you. In your next cycle of breath, do 3 full, strong, deep inhalations and 3 strong, full exhalations in sequence. Back to normal. Feel the opening and the shifting of your consciousness as you begin to open the passageways of your mind simply through your breath. Now that we are still, we'll entertain one image before we end. Imagine yourself in a place of complete darkness, complete stillness, and complete peace. From that place, imagine seeing yourself in the middle of that zone, however you appear. Take in the state of your image, from toe to head. What is on your feet? Are you barefoot? Are you in sandals, boots, or sneakers? Look at your legs. Are you in denim, wool? Are you in shorts? Look at your torso. What type of shirt are you wearing in your image of you? And lastly, look at your face and your hair. What condition are you in? What is the mood on your face? What is the style of your hair? How is your spirit self presenting itself to you? Now that you see this image of yourself, take a circle around that image. Closely examine what you look like on your astral world. Notice if there's anything that looks different from how you look in a physical mirror. If there's any difference between the astral you and the physical you, know that these are the changes that you need to make in your life that will help you align your authentic self from the illusion of your body. Resonate in that space. And for all of the friction, if any, for all of the differences, if any, speak to yourself right now and ask yourself, why are you different from me? Whatever raises up in you is the answer. No matter how difficult, or how estranged, or how unnecessary that answer may be, this is your spirit giving you the instruction to get back into alignment with your authentic self. Notice how direct and easy that message came. Now take yourself in for one last moment. Love the image of yourself that you see. Give thanks to your authentic self. And now slowly allow that version of you to fade back into the darkness and go back to your stillness completely. Now, as you remain still, you can drop your tongue. You can open your hands and take one final inhale with a big, great exhale with a sigh. That is, we meditate.
Namaste.
Namaste, brothers.
Ooh. Wow. All I can say, absolutely amazing. Real quick, I feel energized, as I do when I meditate all the time. So thank you for sharing that with us. You got to come back.
Definitely.
Real quick before we get out of here, lightning round. These questions we ask, try to one-word answers real quick. I try to get them in so people can know you a little better. What's love?
Yourself.
Who's God?
Yourself.
Do you have any pets?
Somewhat. I have a gray cat that it's not mine, but I love it like it is.
Okay. What's your favorite food?
Pizza.
Do you like to cook?
Love to cook.
Okay. What's your favorite place to travel? You've been around the world. What's your favorite place to travel?
My other native land, Jamaica. It's amazing.
Gotcha. Kids? Yes
No kids, but I want one day.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's next?
Finishing up this book, We Meditate, man. That's not the name of the book, but right. We Meditate is the venue or the avenue to which you will find it. But directly next, I actually have another YouTube series coming up, The Hidden Power of the Mind. I'm doing a book review on the book Hidden Power of the Mind by James Van Fleek, which actually gives direct engagement and direct exercises on how to become a manifester. It's essentially giving the mechanics of the secret.
And that's coming up on YouTube.
That's coming up on YouTube, man.
We look forward to it. We're putting it out. Thank you so much for enjoying the Rahman Experience. And again, you got to come back. This is Ahmad Blair-Brown. You can find him on YouTube, on Instagram. Just stick it together. We Meditate. W-E Meditate. Put it together. Look him up. Follow him. Thank you for coming to the experience.
Glad to be here, brother. You have a good one.
And now on over to your favorite part of the show, I'm sure. Keys to living your best life. Sometimes you got to remind yourself.
You are epic. You are amazing. You are absolutely wonderful. The universe has prepared you for this moment. Don't worry about them. Handle you. You got it. All that matters is right now. Trust the process. And this too shall pass. Do the work. Don't let anyone tell you no who doesn't have the authority to tell you yes. Own your space. Love does not hurt. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. Don't stop. Love you first, love you best. You are the universe's perfect expression of this moment. Success is just on the other side of fear. Sometimes you just gotta remind yourself how wonderfully amazing you are. Taking the time to remind you about you is another key to living your best life. Own your greatness and don't let anyone take that from you. If no one has said it, know that I love you. I got so much love for you. Use this power to create a day that's phenomenally amazing.
That's it. You just got to tell yourself you are amazing, know it, and own it. You'll find the video to that on my Instagram as well as over on the Facebook page. Don't forget, tweet me, Facebook me, Instagram me, all those things. Even Tumblr. You can find the show on all of the platforms. Thanks so much for being engaged and involved. Special thanks to our producer, Hayden Cummings, to Tier Humphrey, Linton Meggie, the entire team that pulls the show together. Thanks for all you guys do. Thank you for listening. Now remember, log on, tell a friend, share with a friend, but let the experience continue to move conversation that changes the world. And don't let anybody tell you no who doesn't have the authority to tell you yes. If no one said it, I love you. Now get out of here. Go do something. Yeah, I said it in the whole Your Best Life thing, but you already know that. Go be amazing. See you next week. Rahman Experience.
It's a brand new experience, a brand new time, a brand new way to do it. Yeah, it's all mine. I'm the one telling stories you thought could